Hello, everyone, and welcome to our show, Angelic Guidance for Daily Living. My name is Pat Rainville. I'm an angel therapy practitioner, and I have with here my co-host today, Carolyn McGee, who is also an angelic life coach,
yes.
right? So thank you for joining us on our show today. We started last month with this new show that we're presenting together. And what we're doing on this show is we're, connecting with the angelic realm. Those celestial beings that we consider to be the angels, the guardian angels, the archangels, and how we can work with them in our daily lives, because angels are known as the messengers of God. They're very easy to connect with us, and they can help in a lot of areas in our daily life, as Carolyn and I have both discovered and work with on a regular basis.
Yes.
And so, we really like to share that with other people, and this show offers sort of that opportunity, that venue. So for today's show, we're taping this on the heels or at a time when there's been a very disturbing, actually quite a few disturbing events that have happened in our country. Right now, we just found out about the deadly shooting that took place in Las Vegas. And so it's definitely a topic that we can, talk about with
Absolutely.
regard to the angels and, what angels we can work with as well as what we can do ourselves. To send love and light out to the world. We're in a time where there's a lot of significant change going on.
There's been so many natural events and unnatural events.
Yes.
That are causing unrest and for us to feel like that we can't trust, that we're not safe, that that God has abandoned us, the angels have abandoned us, and that's really not the truth. So. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about how people can connect into that divine guidance, that angelic support, and feel safer even though there's all of these events happening around us.
Yeah, not only that, but feeling like, it's when we see these things happening to people in other areas, a lot of times we can feel really helpless, like, what could I possibly do? And I know there are some people who jump in their cars and they go to to those areas, or they gather donations, or they volunteer for the Red Cross, but not everybody's able to do that.
Not everybody can.
But there's a lot that we can do from home. And one of the things that we're going to do towards the end of the show today is take you through a guided meditation where we'll call on some angels and really get us, as you mentioned, Carolyn, into a really heart-centered, grounded space to come from a place of love. Because as anybody, no matter what spiritual practice that you have, no matter what religion you come from, they all, in any spiritual text that I've ever known
Absolutely, all
of,
of them.
love is the great healer.
Yeah. And it's the foundation of everything. If you go back through any of, like you mentioned, any of the religious texts, they're all based on love. And yes, they practice it differently and they engage in it differently and their ritual is different, but the foundation of it all is love. So if we can get back into that in our own hearts and feel the energy in our own bodies, then we can connect deeper with God, or whatever term you would like to use for that universal energy. And we also can then connect deeper with our angels, because we are in our body and we have the ability to connect. And a few simple ways to do that are drink more water. It's one of the cards that Pat pulled earlier when we were just sitting here practicing. Having our bodies, I believe, are something like 80% water. And when we have more water in our systems, we're more receptive to hearing, feeling, sensing that angelic guidance that's always around us. So that's a really simple way that you can support yourself. And of course, it's just healthier for us to be hydrated.
Yeah, and I heard somebody say one time that you can visualize your favorite, I want to say your favorite saint. Where I came from, they were talking about Mother Mary, because Mary is known for the grotto, the healing grottos.
Yes.
But you can visualize her blessing the water.
Oh, I love that.
But I would think any saint that you feel particularly aligned with could do that as well, and that
Absolutely.
would amplify the effects of the water.
Effects of it. Or if you do any energy work, I know have a lot of friends that will put the Reiki symbol on their glass before they drink water because that energizes it and empowers
Yeah.
it. So I think it's crystals. I know a lot of people put a crystal in the bottom of a pitcher. And then that activates the energy of the water with whatever energy of that particular crystal is.
Yeah,
So-
that would really amplify
Absolutely.
the energetic properties of the water.
So if you're looking for love and peace and connectedness, rose quartz would be a great crystal. That's what this little beauty is right here. It's the energy of heart-centered connectedness, families, communities. Yes, love of all different types. So that would be a great one to support yourself as you're trying to connect more in your angels and feel, what can you do? What is your next right step to best support the world? Because it may be going out and giving somebody some help. It may be donating money. It may be praying. All things are so incredibly valuable.
They are. They are. So I know one of the ways that when I see a lot of stuff going on in the world, one of the things that I do is I will call on the angels to help me get out of that place of fear. And one of the best archangels that you can call upon for that is Michael. I have one of his cards here. This one says you are safe, and that he's protecting us from lower energies and guiding and protecting our home and our loved ones. And it's interesting because I do, as you know, a weekly reading on YouTube. And I always ask for an archangel who's overseeing us for the week. And this is the card that popped up. And Michael will always show up. I mean, he'll give you that protection and that removal of, help you get out of that place of fear if you ask. Angels, as we know, cannot intervene because of the law of free will. They can't intervene unless you ask them. So Michael is an archangel who I call upon, and I'm sure you call upon him as well.
Daily basis.
Daily basis. Anytime I get into my car, but especially at times like this when there's so many events going on in the world, so many disruptive events, and a lot of discord, and it leaves you feeling afraid and feeling like the world's going to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And you know that you need to get centered because, as you were mentioning earlier when we were talking, you can be really up in your head.
Yeah.
And making decisions from that
place
kind of scattered.
Scattered in that place of fear, the place of lack, the place of ego, that you're trying to analyze everything instead of allowing that divine guidance to come in and help support you. Because a lot of times, at least in my experience, and I bet it's yours too, the divine guidance that I get from my angels is not logical.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't always
It doesn't make sense, but it always is optimum. It really makes a difference. Even if it's just, turn right at an intersection where I would typically turn left, I avoid an accident, or I meet a friend that I wouldn't have met someplace if I had gone the other direction. But logically, it didn't make sense to do that. But it's trusting that guidance, trusting the information that you receive so that you are doing what's optimum for your own health, your own safety, and the world around you.
Yeah, it's so true. And I know when I call in Archangel Michael, I mean, there have been, negative situations that I've completely avoided. And without even any special necessarily guidance on, Michael's got a very loud, he can have a very loud booming voice. He's one of the archangels who's the easiest to feel his energy. But there have been times when, without even this, booming voice of guidance or hearing anything, it could be something simple. It's like, I think I'm just going to go down there, and you completely avoid something that would have been very harsh or negative or, what have you. So Michael's energies are incredibly protective. He protects you against lower energies. You can ask them to be with you in your home, to surround your home. When my kids were much younger, I used to send him with the school bus every day. You know, ask Archangel Michael, please keep our kids safe and protected on
Yep.
their school buses, you know, and in the schools.
And in the schools. And I've done it during, bad thunderstorms. Just asked him to protect my house. And during one really bad storm, a huge tree came down. And based on the angle, logically, it should have hit my house. But it just went right over next to it and landed in the yard, probably about 5 feet away. So I know that he was protecting my house, and I asked, and he delivered, and I'm so grateful for everything that happens that way.
Yeah. And one of the ways, actually, I've often shared with people to work with Archangel Michael, especially with your kids, because, I mean, a lot of our fears as parents are centered around
Definitely,
what's
about our
happening with our
children.
kids, what could potentially happen to our kids. So, I mean, if you have a child that is, either extremely sensitive, you know, maybe they're afraid to go to sleep at night, maybe they're very open, intuitive, in an intuitive way, and they can see lots of things or sense lots of things, you can teach them to call on Michael for protection and guidance. I did that with one of my kids when he was very young, because he was seeing something. I couldn't see it. I didn't even know what it was. And I just quietly asked Archangel Michael to take it away. And the next thing I knew, he said, "Oh, Mom, look, it's going away." I'm like, okay, well, whatever it is, glad it's going away.
Yes, definitely.
But also for protection of, like, you know, if a child being bullied is a concern for a parent, or now with what's going on in Las Vegas, if you're worried about your kids, you know, with them being away at school or going off to a concert someplace, send Archangel Michael along with them. He provides that protection. And he also gives them courage to help them stand up for themselves and to assert their boundaries when that's certainly
Yeah,
necessary.
to advocate for themselves. It's really
Yeah.
important to do that. I've always sent him with both of my kids if they've gone off to college, and now my daughter is working, so, just to allow her, like you said, to advocate, to really have that true, authentic voice, and to speak for herself in a way that's empowering, but yet loving and kind. I think that's really important.
Yeah, and one of the other, I mean, the thing that Michael does is he provides like a shield for you. And the way it was described to me is kind of like, you know, if you were going out in the rain, you'd put on an umbrella, or you'd, you know, flip the hood up over your head so you didn't get wet. And Michael can protect, that's kind of how he protects you against, you know, negative energies. He just acts like a shield, like a barrier for you. But the other angel that we can call upon at this time, and as I mentioned earlier, if I was feeling very afraid, you know, with world events and watching a lot of the news, you know, I might take some time to step away from the news, because they'll inundate you with, you
It's
know,
relentless. It
yeah,
really
with the
is, yeah.
negative, you know, media. And I might take some either quiet time out in the woods or time to myself, ask Archangel Michael to lift the fear. But the other angel that especially we can call upon, especially at times when there's a lot of loss that's taken place, where people have lost their lives and there's grieving families, is the Archangel Azrael. And he's an archangel that specifically helps with loss.
With loss, yeah.
Grieving.
With loss, grieving, transition,
Yeah.
from into the spirit form. Does a lot with children, I believe, too, with helping them to connect. At least that's what I just heard.
Oh, well, that's okay. Good to
Okay.
know. Yeah, Archangel Azrael is very comforting.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Michael's a very strong, you know, powerful, courageous energy, Azrael's very comforting. So when you need that, you know, that energy hug from the universe, I'm looking for the card so I can show him comfort. Yes.
Yes, especially during a time of transition. If you have a loved one that's getting ready to pass, Azrael is a great one to call on to ease that transition time, not only for the person so that they can feel comforted and safe as they make that journey, into the next life, but for the people that are experiencing the loss, so that they can, connect and understand and sense the energy change versus the energy ending. He's really good at helping people sense that there still is that energetic connection. It changes form, but it's still there.
Yeah, your loved ones are still your loved ones,
Loved
even though
ones are still your-
even
yeah.
just because they don't have a body anymore.
Right.
Love goes on forever.
Love goes on for, it never dies, it just
And
changes
for
form.
your pets too, right?
Yes, absolutely, for your pets, yes.
Making
Right.
that transition and helping, yes, it doesn't matter for your pets or for people, or for actually almost any kind of loss. It could be a financial loss. It could be that you lost your home or lost, your dear friend, if a relationship has broken down, whatever form of the loss
Yep.
takes. He's helpful for any kind
Very
of
helpful.
loss that way.
And loss of a lifestyle, I worked a lot with Archangel Azrael as I was going through my new life after my divorce,
Oh, that's a good point,
It's
yeah.
a big change.
It is a big change, yeah.
And it's not something that anybody ever expects to happen in
No.
their life. So you're finding a way to work through that grieving, because if we don't allow ourselves to grieve, if we don't allow ourselves to feel, that energy gets trapped in our bodies. And it's almost like frozen light. We can't connect with the angels as well because we've got this frozen energy. There's just not this,
Yeah, and so much of our energy is going into keeping it there.
right, it's like we're holding it really, really tight.
Yeah.
Which uses a lot of energy, as you just said. So then you don't have almost like the vibration to allow the new energy in, or guidance to come in, or anything like that. So it's so much more healthy if we can let go of, not really let go of, but feel it,
Yes, it reminds me of something Archangel Raphael, I heard from him once. It was a message that I got. He said, you need to feel it to heal it.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, at times when we go through difficult things, a lot of people work really hard to stay strong, like when they're helping a loved one through a difficult time or an illness or something like that. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that way of thinking. They want to be
Sometimes you have to.
strong. Yeah, for other people, you have to be strong to get yourself through it. But there also comes a time, like what you're saying, where you really have to let yourself, have your feelings. So many of us are very good at putting our emotions to the side for a while so we can deal with what's in front of us. And that's an important, skill and
Yes,
quality, coping
absolutely.
skill to have. But there also comes that time where you have to allow yourself, like what you're saying.
Yeah, you want to allow, if possible, the feelings you're having and the emotions you're experiencing to go through you, rather than tap them in, because it's kind of like that sand that gets into an oyster, except for it's not really going to be a pearl. It's going to be something that's really heavy that you're holding in your body, but you layer all of those emotions inside of you, and eventually it kind of blocks your heart. It blocks your energy to manifest, because you're carrying all of this emotion that you haven't allowed to process to go through you. You're carrying it, and like you said, it takes so much energy to
Yeah,
do
I think
that.
what happens is people eventually hit the wall. They just hit this wall where they feel like they can't function.
Right, or
you
they have
know?
a breakdown, or,
Yeah.
or it manifests as illness, because there's so much energy going into protecting
Yeah.
that hurt, or whatever energy it is, that they can't function anymore.
Or they're, afraid to, they may be afraid to feel it because it's going to feel like it's overwhelming, like it's going to consume them or something like that. But, as we both know, emotion is energy in motion. And it's not going to overwhelm you or keep you from functioning. I mean, it's there for a little while, but then as
But
you
it
allow
moves
yourself
through.
to feel it, it
Yeah,
moves through.
and every time you feel it, it becomes a small bit less. If you allow it to surface up and process a little bit and let go of it, then you feel better.
Exactly.
So it's certainly not an easy process to go through, but it is easier than the alternative.
That's true. That's true. So we've showed you a couple of archangels that are really good to work with during times of stress, of fear, when there's a lot of conflict and upheaval in the world, a lot of people who've lost lives, homes, things like that. Now, as we're coming sort of towards near the end part of our show, or the back end of our show, one of the ways that we'd like to help you, or because it's good for everybody, is to guide you through a meditation. So, and I know a lot of you watch these shows in the middle of the night when you're up and you can't sleep. You turn on Channel 8. So what we'll have you do to engage in this is, if you're sitting on your couch or finding a quiet, if you can find a quiet space for yourself in a place where you can be comfortable, ideally undisturbed, so you can just sit and relax. And allow your body and your muscles to relax. And we'll just begin by taking a few nice deep breaths. And as you breathe in, pay attention to the way the air goes into your lungs and that expansion of your lungs, and then letting it go. And as you let it go, allowing your whole body and your energy, your shoulders, to just relax, to unwind, and to give yourself a few minutes of just relaxation and peace. We all deserve these moments of peace where we can just let go. No one's demanding our time. No one's demanding our energy. And bring our attention into our body and down over right into our heart. And just breathing in into our heart and trying to stay centered there. And we'll ask the Archangel Michael to surround all of us now as we sit in this meditation. Michael, as an archangel, can be with everyone who calls upon him simultaneously. And he's around you and me and all of us here, helping to clear and lift away the fear, any fears that we may have, whether they have to do with things in the world or things in your personal life. Taking a nice deep breath, asking and allowing Michael to clear and lift away the fear, and helping us to feel more grounded, centered, and peaceful. And asking Archangel Azrael to be with us and all the people in all the areas of the world who have suffered loss at this time. And calling on extra angels to surround the earth and all of its peoples as we go through this time of change.
And with your next breath, feeling that love and that support from Archangel Michael, Archangel Azrael, and all of us who are gathered together to make a difference. Just as though there is a drop of water in the middle of a pond that ripples out and makes a difference. Know that as our hearts beat together in love, in support, and community, with the intention of healing not only ourselves and our loved ones, we also heal the greater community. See your heart, my heart, Pat's heart, everyone's hearts beating together, sending out that energetic ripple. Feel and see all of the angels joining in with that vibration of love, that vibration of healing. Now see our animal friends stopping for a moment and putting in their own heartbeat for love, for support, for healing of our planet, for living together in community, in service. Just sit for a moment and feel that collective energy, the peace of it all, that full awareness that we are all one, that we are one family.
Sending great waves of love out into the world from a heart-centered space.
And feeling it overlap and coming back to you. Magnified.
Taking a nice deep breath. And the angels remind us that you too are loved, valued, appreciated, and respected for what you do here, for your presence here on the planet at this time, for whatever contribution that you're making to your life, to your work, to your world.
And that every step matters. Every breath matters.
Mm-hmm.
Every choice matters.
It does.
And to remind us all to connect to our hearts and to make those choices with love.
I feel in a really good space right now.
I do too. I kind of want to stay here.
I know. That's what I love about meditation and calling in those angelic energies, because it
Yeah,
really
and the
does.
combination too, not only because Pat and I connect, with the same angels, but in slightly different ways. So to feel your connection in my meditation is powerful and kind of opens up a brand new way of engaging for me. So thank you so much.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm so glad to have you joining me on this show because it adds a
fun.
nice element to it.
Yes.
All right, so in the time we have left before we close out today, I'm going to pick an archangel card for us for the month. Okay. Who's going to be overseeing us, who we can call upon between now and our next show. And Carolyn, you're going to pull a card too? Okay. So this is Archangel Raphael with a message of breathe. And just, it actually is really a reflection of what Carolyn and I were just talking about. Take several deep breaths, exhale slowly to awaken your energy and to release old patterns. Oftentimes, if you feel afraid, one of the ways that you can get through it is to breathe your way through it. Remember to connect with your breath.
Absolutely. And these cards are from a deck called the Grace deck. And the card I picked is Imagine. And a lot of times we forget the power of our thoughts. So if we continue to imagine world peace, if we continue to imagine healing, connection, that's what we're sending out, and that's what we are creating. So I invite you to really focus on imagining what you want versus what you don't want for this month. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll look forward to seeing you next month. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.